Oh, yeah, you got Linty in there.
Disheveled.
Briar.
I'm also just so hungover.
Me too. I feel better now, but, like, my stomach's gonna take, like, 3 days to recover.
We are not 21 anymore. By, like, 15 years. Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching Riverdale, Season 6, Episode
21. Chapter 116, The Stand. Kind of.
I'm just going to say, we are very hungover. We are very tired.
Yeah.
So we are not giving this episode or this recording all of the respect it deserves.
It doesn't. This episode was also not very good.
This episode was terrible.
It was just a lot of people stating their intentions at each other and then doing it again a minute later.
And just shifting like tableaus of characters around.
To the
it
point
was
where
so convoluted.
We were also halfway through and you were like, this isn't the finale?
No. I thought we were done, and we were like at the 34-minute mark. It was exhausting, and it was absurd. There was too much. It was too much. It was just too many different things. At no less than 4 points in the episode, someone walked in the room frantically and said, "Wait, guys, I have a plan." That scene with Betty and Polly talking about their mother's death. It was awful.
Yeah.
Like, because I was like, why is Lily bad in this? And I was like, well, the material both of them had. We're not really incendiary in that regard. And I want to say, just while we're up front, who knows how long it's going to go. It's going to be like, I actually liked the third act.
Sure.
I like how they dealt with Percival.
But getting there was a real slog.
Oh my God. Yeah. So much of it felt so arbitrary.
Super arbitrary, and also
what was with the 4 golems?
Wasty.
Like what?
It was just trickery to try to get rid of the Riverdale.
But like one of them was Reggie, and one of them was Jason, and one of them was Grayston Holt, whoever he played. Glenn. And one of them was Abuelita. And those 4 characters aren't even remotely on equal footing from an emotional, both for the characters and the show.
Also, we just killed Jason again.
It was
gone again.
It was super egregious.
Such a waste. I mean, I'm sure that guy is just like, yeah, man, kill me again. Trevor, it's not like I'm going to be gone.
Absolutely. But it's like, but especially because he's the only, well, no, she killed Glenn too, but it's like they only killed Glenn and Jason. And on top of that, like it would be one thing if Cheryl had to kill him, which they presented that scene that way, but she incinerated him.
Yeah.
That was horrible. This episode was so graphic.
So graphically violent in a way that this show has never been. The amount of blood dripping off daggers.
So the show does have a passing familiarity with violence and even gore,
but not to this extent.
And it was so slapdash.
Yeah.
It was so like fucking. Was it Tony that threw the throwing stars into Twyla's face?
Yeah.
Like.
Also, at one point in this episode, we established that Bingo has healing saliva.
So, okay.
Bingo the dog has healing saliva, but then at the end of the episode, everyone is naturally recovering from their wounds.
That was so funny. Because it was like 2 weeks ago, we were like, where's Bingo? And we got a comment saying that What's-His-Nuts took him.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, no, he's just there when we need him. But that was so funny because Reggie stabbed Archie 16 times.
So many
That is too many times. And it was a magic dagger, so you can't even use the invulnerable.
No, it was specifically because he wasn't invulnerable to it.
And it was...
The only thing I'll give them is that they did do the legwork because Reggie has had that knife for at least one whole episode before
He
now.
has, wow, yeah.
He had that knife when he went in the bank vault.
He did say, last I remember, I was with my dad.
Yeah.
That's weird. The shot of Bingo running in and chowing down on Archie. Like, like a 3-course. Like, it was so funny. Rachel was eating, as for mentioned, we're all hungover, and so Rachel's eating Five Guys, and she spent half of the episode going, ah. It was just so.
It was intense. And then it was just literally a throwaway line from Tabitha that was like, phew, thank goodness Bingo has healing powers.
Well, so we knew that because all 4 of us.
Okay, whatever.
It takes us out every time. But imagining this dog, because for some reason in my mind he's always like on his back.
Sure, of
with
course.
all 4 legs just in the air.
So it always reminds me of something too that it's from that movie Stranger Than Fiction, where he's like in a full body cast by the end, and Maggie Gyllenhaal comes in and she's like, oh God, and he goes, no, it's okay, I'm fine, and she goes, no, you are severely injured. Every single time that we talk about Bingo's legs, I'm just like, you're severely injured.
And it's funnier that we didn't see it.
Yeah, we never saw him in like whatever camo cast Uncle Frank would have picked out.
I didn't want to, but it allows my mind to elaborate in ways that,
absolutely.
I don't know.
It's almost worse that we didn't see.
I go to like a Something About Mary, but you've never seen that. The dog is in a full body cast.
Okay, yeah.
Like everything is just little tongue. I think it's been years. I
think I'm past the age where that movie is going to happen for me. Past the time in the world and my life.
Yeah, so Archie's his hair looks so good.
It looks so good.
He was so hot.
Like,
but
really
he also
good.
doesn't have the bear scars anymore, which I feel like that might have...
Bingo, your healing powers went too far.
But the way... Okay, so it's one thing... This was so jam-packed with like plot and explanation.
Yeah, but like...
And like...
Yeah, not in a good way, though. Like, last week was jam-packed in, like, a fun way. And this was jam-packed in a, like, let me tell you what you need to know.
But it was like, when you get into, like, the late seasons of Once Upon a Time...
Sure.
The writer, Lily Sparks, that we really love, she was always like, a plot makes sense when the characters have to constantly keep explaining to you how and why it makes sense. Mm-hmm. And that was... Like, there was, like, so many things where I'm surprised that they didn't say, and it's a good thing that his spit has retroactive healing power. Like,
yeah,
because they kept justifying where we were in ways that was just, I was getting further away from it.
Like, honestly, I would have literally been happier if Tabitha was like, wow, even your bear scars are gone.
I don't know. I
guess the comet is not actually coming on this night, which was our first clue that there was going to be more to come. Heather found that out, but she wasn't able to tell Cheryl until after JJ shot her with an arrow.
I'm still kind of mystified by Heather. She's just on this show.
It's a little weird.
Because the ensemble is one of my favorite things about the show. And when they use it well, which is not often.
Yeah, shockingly.
It's great. But, and that's something that I've really enjoyed about season 6, is we got back to a place with the core 4 and then have properly... blossomed into like a core 7.
Yeah.
Like, Cheryl has been fantastic. I don't think Madeline Petch gets even remotely enough credit.
The way she doesn't choke on any of her lines, which are patently stupid.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. And it's just sort of, because it's like, we talk a lot, like everybody on the show is like competent, is like a good actor, but there are certain people who do excel. And one of the ones that we love so much is Lily Reinhart. Like, Lily Reinhart is a good actress. Yeah. And so it's not so much that, I do think Madeline is a good actress, but it's like she just understands so completely that
it's camp.
Yeah, like the genre, like she understands that she's in a supernatural soap opera.
Yeah.
That is not presenting itself that way.
Right.
Like the layers of the show are very evident in her entire performance.
Yeah. Because that's the thing too, and like in somebody less good, every line she delivered would be a clunker, and almost never.
No, and it just because, and as long as they're not saddling her with being the villain, it's just because it's like her and Archie have this like rapport. It is very Lydia and Scott from Teen Wolf, where she is constantly reporting to Archie as the alpha, you know, and she's like, It's happened like 3 times each episode for the past 5 episodes.
It's been pretty great ever since the end of the Rivervale, or whenever we got Nana or Abigail out of Cheryl. I have had 0 issues with her, and there is always episodes in every season where I have issues with Cheryl, and it's been this really nice stretch where I'm just like, go Team Cheryl.
I just like we just. There were so many things that ended up being of no or such little consequence, like the Hellmouth, but then they sealed it, but then there's a Holy Grail, but then there's the dummies, and then Glenn is back, but he's been chainsawed up and twitching, but then Tabitha created a time loop to age up baby Anthony, but then they created another time loop to move Pop so that it could be back to the Hellmouth, so that it could stop the Hellmouth, but then Jughead opened a portal, and the ghosts were there, but they didn't do anything, and somebody died, but it was maybe before magic, but then it was after magic, so the magic didn't magic, and I
mean, from what my...
Why did his clothes come off? Why was Percival naked for 3 seconds of this episode?
He was trying to get away from someone in his... But from baby Anthony in his office, so he slowly, weirdly spun around in his chair, and then there was just a pile of clothes in the chair, and then he was nude in the basement.
Don't get me wrong, it was very nice.
Oh, great. Super welcome, whatever. But that's the thing I was going to say. My executive function is...
But it just made me...
not great today, but, like, I think it mostly hung together.
The episode?
The episode.
Okay.
I think it mostly... I'm not saying it was good. I just think it logistically mostly hung together.
So if we want to get to the third act, because I did say in the beginning that I actually like that. I don't understand why... Because they make this big to-do over, like, baby Anthony needs to be aged up because he's the only one that can defeat Percival.
Yeah.
But then he factors in
I
not
think it's
one
going to be
iota.
next week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Percival's dealt with.
Is he? The devil's never been known to go back on a deal?
I did say, I was like, Tabitha, did you literally make a deal with the devil?
I don't think she did. I think she literally...
Until next week we find out.
We'll see.
That off screen.
It felt like it was presented as if she was like, hey, do you want to just take this guy off our hands? He's been cheating you and we don't want him. Have him.
And well, because so they're also trying to resurrect. So Alice, Frank, and Tom were dead.
Yeah.
Were decapitated. Their bodies were given back to them.
But Percival kept their heads.
In styrofoam containers in the kitchen.
I hate to bring it to you, that is how most organs are transplanted.
I know, but they're...
Transported for transplantation.
I would just think that this supreme sorcerer who's beheading people would have, like...
Fancy boxes?
Yeah, like a mother box or something, you know what I mean? What? Suddenly Pandora's box would have been a bridge too far?
To put Alice Cooper's head in? Pandora's box couldn't handle it.
Well, because and Cheryl's bringing them back with the Phoenix power, which, I mean, Phoenix resurrects, so fine. But anyways, so they were going to show down with him, and he had a mace, and Archie even had the magic dagger, but didn't use it. He used a metal baseball bat, and then everybody came and punched him a bunch, but then he, like, magicked them. Oh, and also, he turned their powers against them. Debatable. Those were inconsistent.
Way inconsistent.
The fates, those people, because Veronica was poisoned. So that is,
fine.
In fact, turning her powers against her. Cheryl turning to ice is not turning fire powers against her.
No, it's like doing the opposite of her. It's like, define irony.
Yeah. And then instead of being able, her power was seeing specifically red and gold auras, and now she's just blind.
Yeah.
That's not those two things.
Yeah.
And then
Archie was like a steel statue.
Because he's invulnerable.
Yeah.
That's not the opposite. You need to watch Unbreakable. That's not
Oh god, that would be just Archie crumpling to
just
the
shattering.
Ground.
And so then
it was just up to Jughead.
Lou Cypher or Percival went into the diner, and then they were going into each other's minds to, like, trash the place, like mess things up, I guess. Percival was taking Jughead's memories, but while he was doing that, what he didn't know is that Jughead, and I thought this was great.
Yeah.
That Jughead had put a portal in the doorway, so he went from Riverdale Pops into Rivervale Pops.
Without realizing.
And off screen, Jughead and Tabitha had rallied the troops in Rivervale.
Yeah.
A lot of them, like all of them. Yeah. And Kevin got shot, but he's fine. And so while they were in each other's minds, the Rivervale gang like Murder on the Orient Express.
And they all took
each one of them stabbed Percival. Yeah. And so he came back and he was just like gushing,
oozing blood everywhere
through all of the fissures.
And there was so much
seepage. And so then Tabitha took him back in time to before when he made the deal.
Right. So he was still human and he wasn't immortal, but in doing so, he had like one last gambit and he has basically changed the course of the comet. So it's going to hit Riverdale and be an extinction level event, which they did not specify if that means Earth or just Riverdale.
But the reasoning was that if I can't have it, no one can. So I'm going to choose to believe
just
it is
Riverdale.
That it is Earth, that he is going to destroy the Earth so that no one can have the town of Riverdale.
Why do you want it, man? I even only barely understand why Archie wants Riverdale. And I'm like that even only barely makes sense.
What I say it all the time, but from Will and Grace, when Karen's like, I barely care about Will.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how I feel about his brother?
Yeah, 100%.
And so Dr. Curdle, who is no longer a ghoulie and survived the massacre.
Well, it wasn't meant to be a massacre. Before they went in fighting, Fangs was like, we are like subduing them only.
So it's just Twyla that's getting blades to the face.
Twyla seemed to be in on it with Percival. She didn't seem like she was mind controlled.
Oh, she just chose to do this.
They had like three scenes together. But that was,
but he explained to her that she was expendable in this way that I was sort of like, oh, so is she going to betray him?
Not yet. Yeah, I don't know.
These last 3 episodes needed to be a minimum of 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Like,
there was a real lot of, you know what? It's just like a fucking Stephen King book. So there was like
twist
600 pages of like infuriating time wasting, and then all of the action is in the last 100 pages.
So Dr. Curdle sewed their heads back on. Mm-hmm. And so Cheryl brought them back. And they did.
Also, Dr. Curdle was mind controlled into being a ghoulie. So.
Also, Principal Weatherby was there. He didn't even speak a line. Like,
he sometimes doesn't.
But to bring him in and put him in ghoulie garb in the Babylonium.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. Well, and it was so many asinine, because you were right when Abuelita was chasing Veronica around. Well, first of all, when she held the shotgun to the face, I was like, ah! But Veronica poisons the door.
Okay, Veronica is running away. She gets into her bathroom. She puts, like, neurotoxin stuff on the inside doorknobs. So then Abuelita comes in, shoots the windows out, reaches through the shot out window to unlock the door, pulls her hand back through the door, and then puts it back through to grab the doorknob on the inside of the door. Why would you ever do such a thing? Put the neurotoxin on the lock. Also, why is your bathroom deadbolted? That was a deadbolt lock.
Well, wasn't Chad around in this bathroom?
I don't remember.
Maybe. My favorite was, it was from last week's episode, but I do love how Veronica really sidestepped accountability onto Geraldo.
Well, she's been not held accountable for 3 murders.
They were talking, and she was
3 important men in her life, and she is directly responsible for all 3 of their deaths, and she has not had one whiff of police around.
I don't want her to be arrested, but it feels like it should be acknowledged, because
with all of the other bureaucratic minutia we go through on this show, the fact that Veronica has managed to completely sidestep consequences for the mysterious deaths of 3 men that are emotionally close to her is wild.
But yeah, she was like, I had Geraldo look into Percival before he died. Do you remember that? I was like,
Geraldo was a straight up accident. She didn't know she was poisonous.
But Betty is still not over that goddamn cat. You know what I mean? And Veronica was like, whoops.
My bad.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, is that even possibly it?
That's mostly it. Yeah, everybody's sort of recuperating. I guess all's forgiven with Frank and Mr. Keller, but...
Well, same with Kevin and Fangs and Tony, and they got Moose from that bus stop in New York that he was sitting at waiting for Kevin to show up.
So he's sure to die at some point now that we've brought him back in for this.
Maybe that almost is... that almost would be too thoughtful.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you're right. At this point, we'll be lucky if Moose dies off screen.
I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna watch next week.
Of course. And we're gonna watch season 7.
I still largely really enjoyed this season.
Yeah.
And like I said, I can even say I liked elements, but this was nuts.
This was bonkers.
Nuts.
Bonkers in not as fun a way as it has been. It was really...
I mean, it was kind of fun, but I'm just sort of gobsmacked.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
At least it was bad in a fresh way.
Yeah, it was bad in a fresh way. I actually didn't love the conversation that Betty and Polly had. It's very, like, Polly is just trying, like, being pious, basically, and she's like, you just have to have faith. And it's like, have you met Betty? It was weird. I didn't love that, but I don't know. It was entertaining, I guess, but yeah, just...
I'm good.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to bed now.
So, like and subscribe. Check out some of our reactions. We are doing trailer reactions from Comic-Con.
Yeah.
We're revamping the Patreon. So if you want to catch... I have the first chunk of season 2 of True Blood already loaded to the Patreon, and I will have the second chunk later this week. And then once I can format it, we will have the entirety of season 2 of Riverdale up on Patreon. They will still be releasing weekly, but if you just want to watch it all at your leisure, you can join the Patreon and watch it over there. And we're also doing
as little as $1.
And we're also doing some fun personal bonus videos. We did like one of those like 20 questions about me type things. And so, like and subscribe and all of that jazz. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.